seriously. How many of you guys have ever been afraid of something in your life? You know, anything, at some point in your whole life. Think back to when you were a kid, you were afraid of the dark, afraid of monsters. You're sleeping in bed or not sleeping and thinking about what's out there. Think about when you were in 8th grade, you might have been afraid what was going to happen in high school, what was going to be, who were going to be your friends, would you make the team? You might have been afraid to talk to a boy or a girl. You have these fears throughout the course of your life. But I think that if you look back on them, if you were to write them down at every given stage of your life and look back on them, you would think they're pretty silly. You would think that it's probably not that big of a deal. There's about 530 phobias out there, according to this etymologist that I once read. Now, that doesn't even count the millions of fears, hundreds of millions of fears probably that make up our daily lives and that really occupy and concern us and really hold us back from what we're capable of. But we all have them. And I'd say that FEAR is really an acronym. It stands for false evidence appearing real. And I'm sure you guys have heard that acronym at some point in your life. I heard it a long time ago, and it really never took root for me until my father, actually, when I was in college, gave me a little piece of advice, which I'm going to talk about in a second. So we've all lived with fear every day of our lives. It's been a part of us. It's a natural part of life. In fact, it's probably a reaction that is natural to our survival. We need to have this instinct in us to fly, to flee if we need to. But I think that if you bring those fears out into the open, if you identify them, if you write them down, then you'll come to realize that they're all relative and they really don't mean anything. So my dad told me when I was in college, I write that, he said, for the last 20 years or so, I've written down my fears every 6 months. And then 6 months later, I look at the fears that I had 6 months ago. And every single time, 90% of the fears that I had 6 months ago seemed silly at the time. Seemed silly 6 months later. So I started doing that, and he had some pretty compelling life experiences that made me think, well, if that can seem silly, 6 months later, then I might as well give it a shot while I'm in college. I'm thinking I'm really scared going into my senior year. How am I going to get a job? What's it going to be like to be off my parents' payroll? And little did I know that this is occupying me, almost preventing me from having a good time my senior year. But 6 months later, I was out of college, off their payroll. I moved across the country and I had a good job. And I look back on it, and it's hard for me to relate to what I was feeling at the time. It just doesn't seem like that big of a deal. So I think that a quote that I read on the internet yesterday, and I'm going to regurgitate here, is, "Fear grows in the darkness. If you think there's a boogeyman out there, just turn on the light." And that makes sense because, at least to me, because really we think something's, a lot of times we have these, the fears kind of affect us in the back of our minds. We don't really know that they're there. There's something that's concerning us. But if we put that fear out there, if we get it out on the table, then we can confront it. And I think that if you begin to write down your fears, if you write them down right now, if you look at them 6 months from now, and write them down again, and if you do that for a couple of years, after a while you're going to begin to realize, once you write down your new fears, these are going to be gone in 6 months. They're not going to mean anything. And they're going to allow you to take them with a grain of salt. And they're going to allow you to put them out there and just understand that it's not that big of a deal. So in conclusion, I'd say the only thing that allows us to look back on our childhood and realize and kind of laugh at a kid when he jumps into his parents' bed and is scared of the monster in the closet is that we realize that the fears that we once had are no longer important and that they don't really, they're not real. They're just an illusion. So take that, identify your fears, and begin to, really use them and overcome and reach your goals.